In this distance reading today, I'm going to be answering clairvoyantly about polygamous relationships, boundaries, breaking childhood cycles, and attraction. So make sure that you stick around till the end to get some tools on how to deal in these areas. Also, if you want a chance to ask me to do distance readings, channeled answers, and enjoy seeing how a clairvoyant works, then don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notify so that you don't miss out. At the end of this video, I will share with you how you can get the opportunity to ask me questions in hope that I'll answer them as well. Hello, everyone. My name is Kjarlune, and I am a top clairvoyant in the community. My question for the day that I have chosen is from a client of mine who emailed me. We will refer to her moving forward as Mrs. T. So this is what Mrs. T wrote me by email. Okay, Jay. May I just say, I have such extreme gratitude for your vulnerability in the videos that you've been sharing lately. I feel like the videos you have posted have been speaking to me in my soul, specifically in a time that I need to pivot myself for spirituality. So thank you, KJ. I've been struggling with connection, fake connection, real connection, social media connection, existence, maintaining my true authenticity since even pre-COVID. I truly believe in this lifetime, I feel like my theme is family. We aren't speaking to my husband's parents because they don't agree with our choices and how we live as a polyamorous unit. I've established boundaries with my own parental units in terms of healthy boundaries due to decisions that she has made with her personal world, and only to have these healthy boundaries disrespected over the holiday season. I'm a huge proponent through self-help, through leveraging spirituality, through pods, through all sorts of resources to help understand where I am at currently. And there is a lot of support out there for setting boundaries. There isn't a lot of support for when these boundaries are disrespected, which is where I am now. I have shifted my priorities in terms of trying to understand if my theme is focused around family. Why do I feel so alienated with it, just being the four of us, to now leverage my soul family? I have come to understand that my hubby and I are breaking generational traumas, and that part hurts. Thanks for listening, KJ, Mrs. T. So, Mrs. T, first of all, I love you. And congratulations on all the work that you've done. I think you should be really proud of yourself. So the very first thing that's sort of coming up for me in this, when I read this email, is that you have done a lot of work figuring out how to set boundaries, but not the work that's required to understand how to eliminate expectation. Now, there's a few things that I'm going to say in this session. There's a few things that I'm being driven or pushed to say that you might struggle with and you may not necessarily agree with. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about the polyamorous part of your relationship, which, as far as I'm concerned, brilliant. Whatever, there is no such thing as one way to have a relationship. And so as long as this is working for the two of you, then I'm thrilled. And I believe clairvoyantly that on sort of an 80% level, it's working. But here's what nobody tells us. And this is really important information. What nobody tells us is that we attract what we believe. We attract what we believe. We attract what we believe we deserve. We attract what we're really thinking right deep down, what we don't want to be thinking, but what we get stuck in thinking. We attract from other people some of the things that we're not necessarily adjusting and associating with ourselves. And at no point am I saying that because your husband's family doesn't agree with your guys' lifestyle, that means that you guys are doing something wrong. What I'm saying is that they are being so vocal or have been so vocal about their opinion of your lifestyle because it's still something you struggle with. Now, when I decide that I'm going to do something, it doesn't matter what it is. When I decide that I'm going to do something and I'm comfortable with my decision, it doesn't matter who knows. And more importantly, because I'm really comfortable with what I'm doing, nobody else needs to know. And I think that this is really important, especially when you're going to live a relationship that's different than what sort of society or the norm tries to say is normal, which, let's be honest, there's no such thing as normal on this planet in the first place. But one of the issues that we have is that we give too much information and we allow too many people to sleep in our bed. And I don't mean to have sex in our bed. I mean to sleep in our bed. Okay. So I don't care how many partners you guys have sleeping in your bed. What I care about is how many communications you're having with people, knowing in advance that they're not going to agree. And that's because there is something about this relationship that you're struggling with. And that doesn't mean that you're struggling with your partner. I 1,000% get that you have accepted this and actually want this. So what I'm being told that you're struggling with is the idea that it's so different. What I'm being told your emotional struggle with it is that it isn't norm, which I find weird because, and I think weird, haha, because I don't think you actually like being normal. I don't think that's ever been your goal. I don't think that's ever been something that you've tried to be. I think a part of why this lifestyle appeals to you, outside of the fact that I think it's a good lifestyle for you, but a part of why this lifestyle appeals to you is because it is out of the norm. And you don't want it. You're not a round peg in a square hole, sweetheart. So stop trying to be a round peg in a square hole. Okay. So the first thing that I want to explain to you is don't talk about your relationship with other people. Okay. Because number one, they're not in your relationship. Number two, they're not going to get it. So unless you're dealing with a relationship therapist because there's actually issues or you want the exact life of the life that the people that you're talking to have, don't communicate about it. Okay. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, but most of the time they're awful opinions, right? Also, learn to understand. This is going to sound really crazy, but I treat it as a compliment when I feel really secure in what I'm doing and people don't agree with me, because I look at their life and I look at what they're doing and I look at how much I don't want their life. And as soon as they disagree with me, I'm like, yes, I am on the right road. Move along, Charlie, move along, because it means that I am going into a different direction. It means exactly what you're saying, which is you are breaking childhood boundaries and family cycles, which I think is wonderful. Now, I also have to tell you that the reason that you're struggling with the whole family unit right now is because you want family so desperately. And you've always wanted family so desperately, sweetheart. It's always been important to you that you have a family, that you be a family, that you can break these cycles and patterns. And none of that ever got in the way of this being what you wanted to do. You always wanted to have a husband and children. Which again, just so you understand, makes a little bit of a conflict because your whole life, it's not like you were taught your whole life growing up, or society taught you your whole life growing up, that being polyamorous, being able to have connections with more than one person, sets up for a set, stable relationship. One of the things that I do as a coach and as a clairvoyant, and that I'm a huge focus of in relationships, is that we treat the way that we need relationships differently. And the reason that I suggest that there is no one way to do it, and the reason that I would tell you that that's the case, is because we're not all the same. Just because we all have lessons, just because we all have curriculums, just because we all have things that we want to achieve and do, does not mean that we want them to be the same. If that was the case, we'd all be garbage delivery drivers, or we'd all be engineers, or there's a reason why there's all these different kinds of things that we want to be, and all these different kinds of things that we want to do, and all these different kinds of personalities. And over the last 4 years, we've really discovered the division in that, because we were all taught to be individuals, yet follow the rules. And that doesn't actually work. You don't get to be individuals and follow the rules. You create rules when you're an individual, and you create rules that work for you, not rules that work for the majority, because nothing can work for everybody. So it's creating a conflict in your head, just so you can understand. It's creating a battle from what you want to what you were taught. And that battle is completely normal. And to be honest with you, I got to tell you, from what I'm hearing, and I want to tell you that I think that this is your dad that's talking to me, you're kicking ass. This is brilliant. How you are pulling through this has absolutely been lovely. Now, the other thing that you got to understand is that you're an empath. You absorb energy, and you actually enjoy absorbing the energy. You enjoy feeling the energy, which is why you feel so disconnected. And that is absolutely pre-COVID. That is because of cell phones, and everybody's on their phone, and nobody's paying attention to anything anymore, and everybody's losing their empathy, and nobody's acknowledging what other people are doing, and it's insanity out there. And so because of that, it feels very sort of disconnected. Whereas before, you felt like you were a part of, it's like you were part of the group without having to share anything, right? It's like you were in the class, but you didn't have to stand up and speak. And now it's like they kicked you out of the class, but nobody told you actually had to leave. You just went to go into class one day, and it was like class removed and nobody told you. That's what's going on. So on top of that, you're also feeling an extreme need to connect with family. And so here's my thing. I know you know this. I know you know this because you've always felt far more connected to other people than the people that are actually physically in your family. There is, um, what do I want to say here? For all of us, there is family. There is the people we were born from, the siblings, the aunties, the uncles, the grandmas, the grandpas, all. And with all of that, for each and every one of us comes different versions of traumas. And no matter what we try to break, we do it to our children too, unintentionally. And with any luck, it's sort of every goal that you break a few of the cycles and then, create a couple of new ones. Because we're all learning and we're all growing at the same time. But you have never felt like you fit in. And you especially have never felt like you fit in with your family. And one of the things that attracted you to your husband is that he never felt like he fit in with his family either. So what that tells me is that you need to create a new family. That's what that tells me. Okay. And I'm not telling you that you need to remove your family completely. You do know me because you've been a client of mine for a long time. So I'm sure you know that I took a time out from my family for about 10 years. And I was actually really proud of that timeout. I'm just FYI information because I'm going to share stuff with you guys like I do in readings. I took time out from my family and I was very proud of myself and I did a lot of work while I was doing that. And with my father dying recently, my family has come back into my life and they were due to come back in for some time. But, like everybody else, I was too much of a chicken to actually go and have the conversations that I needed to have, even though it was me that took the time out. Regardless, my family is back in my life. And since they've come back into my life, I've discovered that the approach that I took by walking away from my family was not the right approach. And the reason that it wasn't the right approach is because I didn't learn from it. I just removed the problem. And I actually ended up feeling a lot more disconnected. Now, I'm not telling you whether it's right or wrong to eliminate your family. What I am telling you is that you can put your family in a category of what works and what doesn't, and love and respect them for who they are, because that's what you're looking for. So regardless of where they give it or don't, you need to give them what it is you're looking for, which is love and acceptance for who they are. And then pick and choose what it is you're actually going to share or not share. And that's not lying. That's choosing what they can influence me in and what they can't. Because that's very important. I don't think that we are choosy enough in what we share. I think that we're all oversharers. Even introverts, we're oversharers. And we share the wrong things. And we share those things because we're looking for some sense of approval. Okay, so this is really important. It's you are meant to have a very strong support system. And what I would like to suggest that you do is that you start looking for your village. So instead of referring to it as my life's mission is family, I'd like you to refer it more as your life's mission is to create a village, to create a secure, safe environment for all of the people in your village, that everybody gets to be their own individual human beings. Because wouldn't that just be a glorious thing to be able to be exactly who you are and accept everyone in your life for who they are, right? I would like that to be your focus. Focus on creating a village. And I'm going to suggest that you create on a village of like-minded people, right? Because they're not going to judge what you're doing or how you're doing it. Not that I think anybody's judgment actually matters, because to be honest with you, I think your relationship's phenomenal. And I am thrilled with the fact that both of you have actually learned that you can give each other more by adding things into the equation. So I know this might sound crazy to some people, but the energy that I get out of this relationship is that you actually truly nurture each other even more, because you're allowing each other to meet your needs, which can't be met in your relationship. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think it's beautiful. And I think you should be very proud of yourself. Almost wish I could be polyamorous, because the energy that I get from it actually feels really good. We've all got our own cup of tea, which is fine. So now you have really been hurting, and to be honest with you, energetically, where your hurt is coming even more from is feeling so disconnected. And you're extremely hard on yourself, and you question yourself, and you second guess yourself an awful lot. I'm sure that's why you love the self-help books. And I would like you to pick and choose what it is that you're taking, because sometimes too much self-help isn't a good thing. I feel like I'm being told, again, I think this is by your dad, but I'm being told that you really do need to focus on your worth instead of finding how to have worth from other people's advice, which I know sounds kind of oxymoron because I'm giving you all kinds of advice in this actual session. But I think you need to start trusting yourself more, baby. You have done a lot of work. Okay. You have done a lot of that self-help work. So I think that what you need to do is remove the expectations, because that is the area that you seem to falter on. Okay. And I'm going to try to make this make more sense in other areas too. So now I'm going to go to boundaries, and this is the coach in me talking for just a second, not the clairvoyant. Not that that's not, the part that I'm getting across too, but I am a coach. Boundaries. Okay. I am so proud of you that you set boundaries, but here's where the mistake comes in. And here's the mistake that comes in for everybody who sets boundaries. It's a mistake we all make. We set boundaries with the expectation that they will be followed, which, if you think about this for a second, is absolutely the greatest form of insanity. Okay. Hear me out for a minute. If your family, your friends, or anyone that you actually have to set boundaries for, if they honored, respected, understood, and accepted you, you would never have to set boundaries. There'd be none required. You have to set boundaries because they don't. Simple. You have to set boundaries because they don't. They don't understand you. They don't accept you. They don't meet your needs. They don't pay attention to your needs. That's why you have to set boundaries. So if they weren't prepared to do it before you set boundaries, which in their world is ultimatums, what makes you think you're going to do it now? What miraculous thing do you think happened that they're going to be like, oh, well, now it's boundaries. Absolutely, I'm going to follow. Okay. What do you do? None of us do, right? It's like, I deal with this a lot of time in my career. I deal with clients all the time. And I deal with this a lot more with women than I do with men, just for the record. It's like men have just come to the understanding that they divorced that person for a reason. So to expect that to change would just be foolish. It's one of the things I love about men. But women astound me, because I deal with them in my office, and I love you all. Don't misunderstand me. Unconditionally, I love you all. But I find it so, part of my entertainment, because I got to entertain too. I find it so entertaining that they'll come to me and they'll be like, I could not handle this about my husband, so I finally left him. I'm like, oh, good job. Yeah, but he's doing this and he's doing this and he's doing this and he's doing this, and it's just driving me crazy. And I'm like, the first problem here is that you thought leaving him would change him. But you left him because he wouldn't change. So what makes you think if he wouldn't change to keep you, what makes you think he's going to change after you've left? It just doesn't. That's not what boundaries are for. That's not the form of insanity is expecting people to do something different, which is why you set the expectation or the boundary, or you left the situation in the first place. Boundaries aren't for them, sweetheart. The boundaries aren't even for them to follow. The boundaries are for you to follow. And what that means is, when they don't respect your boundaries, remove them. Mom, love you so much. Thank you so much for coming. I need you to leave now. What? I don't care what her reaction is. The boundary is your rule book. It's not their rule book. It's your rule book. The boundaries are for you. And where the real problem is when they don't meet those boundaries because they're not going to meet those boundaries, and then you don't instill the rules that are attached to the boundaries, you're hurting you. You're telling yourself that they're hurting you because they don't respect you. But what you need to understand is you set the boundaries up because they didn't respect you. Now, just because you're using the word boundary doesn't mean that it's automatically accepted by every party. It's not like we went to a form of mediation and sat down, everybody went, oh, boundaries, absolutely, tell me what I need to do. That's not how this goes. It's not how it goes for anybody. Otherwise, we would never have to set a boundary, right? The boundaries are for you. So one of the issues here is that we don't necessarily understand how to create boundaries. So if you're going to tell yourself that you will no longer be spoken to in a certain way, you will no longer tolerate being spoken to in a certain way, when they speak to you that way, the boundary is to stop them from communicating and remove them from your environment so that you don't have to listen, or get up and walk away. Get up and walk away. Now, I don't think that I'm clairvoyantly correct by telling you that you should have just gotten up and walk away, because it feels like this happened in your environment with your family in your safe space. So what should have happened was mom should have learned a really great lesson. Family should have learned a really great lesson, and they should have been kicked the hell out of the house. Because it's your Christmas too. It's that simple. It's that simple. Boundaries are not so that other people do what you want them to do. Boundaries are so that you stop allowing yourself to take on what other people do. So there's some confusion there in the boundaries, and that needs to shift. Okay. For those of you that are watching this and listening, boundaries are an amazing thing, but they're only going to work if you follow through on them. So you definitely need to set up a village. And clairvoyantly, what I'm hearing is that, and you can use the advantage that we have of like social media and people paying more attention on their phones and stuff to sort of create this. But what you have to understand, my beautiful, is that if you're feeling this, many people are feeling this. And so everybody's looking for a way around that. So what I would recommend that you do is that you could actually start putting out there that you'd like to create a night once a month where a group of you guys get together and support each other, and set it up like a book club, but make it like a bitch club or fun club, or we get to tell each other everything that's going on. Nobody gets to judge anybody club, non-judgment club. I don't care what you call it, right? And then what I'm going to suggest that you do is that you book the night, and I would suggest that you tell people that they can invite people, and make it sort of a policy that everybody's phone goes in a box as they walk through the door, and we all get to enjoy, wine and appies or whatever, and we all get together and have a really great time without any of those interferences, is what I'm going to suggest. The other thing I'm going to tell you clairvoyantly is I'd really love to see you looking at taking some courses on how to develop and expand your intuition and your trust in your information a little bit more, because I feel like you've done a lot of internal work on you believing in yourself and taking care of yourself better. And I think that that's something that you should be really proud of, because from what I'm being told, you are really sort of making you the priority. And up until recently, you were very much the stick the mask on someone else before you stick the oxygen on yourself personality. And you have sacrificed a lot for everybody around you. And it seems that you're definitely getting far better at taking care of yourself. So I would love to see you develop that ability a little bit more, because I think that it would really make you feel like you're fulfilled by understanding it, learning it for yourself, and then being able to help other people do it too. Also, just FYI, there's a major loss coming up in your family. I actually think it's your husband's family, to be honest with you, and it's coming across as a male. I'm getting heart and blood issues, which actually, just for the record, is telling me a stroke, not a heart issue, because the blood issues tend to override the heart issues. So I actually think it's going to be a massive stroke. So I'd just like you guys to prepare for that. Make sure that we're in a good place when that happens. As far as your immediate family goes, your spouse and your children, everybody looks good. Everybody feels good. I hope that I answered your questions today. I hope that all of that made sense. There is nothing in our life that we can't have if we go do it, right? The old story is, if you build it, they will come. And that is absolutely the truth. So if you're feeling disconnected in your life, for all of you listening, for any of you paying attention, if you're feeling disconnected in your life, then then put down your phone and start having direct conversations with people. If you don't feel like you're supported, then make a point of seeking out people that will support you. That's the entire point, right? Our needs have to be met. And if they don't get met, we fall down. So that's really important. Also, setting boundaries is a beautiful thing as long as you understand, because it's a beautiful thing, as long as you understand that if you couldn't get someone to change, the boundary isn't going to change them. So you have to change how you deal with them. That's what a boundary actually is changing how you deal with them. But also, and this one's huge, and you may hear this from me a few times over the next little bit, but the one thing that we are all looking for, each and every one of us, is to be totally and completely accepted for who we are, without judgment, without opinion, without ridicule. And I got to ask you, okay, very sincere question. Who do you do that for? Who do you do that for? And if you're being honest with yourself, the answer is nobody. And I'm going to tell you why nobody. I'm going to tell you why I can securely say nobody, and I don't even have to know who you are that's watching this video. I can tell you securely that the answer is nobody, because you wouldn't be feeling like you're not being accepted if you accepted everybody else unconditionally for who they were. You would never feel like you're not being accepted. I have a story to share with you that I really think is going to help. And it brings along, and just so you guys understand, I share stuff all of the time. I truly believe that I'm not entitled to get into your life if you're not entitled into mine. So like I had mentioned earlier, I took a time out from my family for a long time, and then my father died. And I'm just going to give you the nuts and bolts, even though I'm sure you'll hear more about this over time. Through the process of my father dying, I reconnected with my family. The passing was devastating, and I have been very lucky because the work that I did in the 10 years that I was gone from my family, the one sort of advantage that I have is that I understood that I was just as much to blame for the lack of communication and lack of understanding and lack of support and lack of and the conditional acceptance as my family was. I was just as much of a culprit. And so through the last 10 years, I really worked on that. I worked on that unconditional acceptance and truly accepting everybody for who they are, because that's what I needed in return. So when this all happened and my dad passed away, my connections with my mom and my sister have been, I have a mom and a sister, just so you guys understand. Well, and a dad, but my dad now watches it. I only have one sibling. My connections with my mom and my sister have been phenomenal. And at this point of the game, so it's been since September, now normal MO is that by this point, they would have, I'm going to share this the way that I used to think it, and then I'm going to redirect it. They would have hurt my feelings 20 times by now, and we've only talked 10. That's super sensitive. So they would have hurt me really, really easily. And what I'm discovering is that because I have learned how to accept myself unconditionally for who I am, which I'll be sharing a lot of on this channel and how to do that, and because I now have the ability to accept others unconditionally, I am learning so much about my family. I am in my 50s. Okay. My sister's 5 years older than me. I am learning so much about my mom, my sister, and my dad that I never gave them the opportunity to show. I never, because I didn't accept them. Because I didn't give them what I was looking for, but I certainly expected it. And now that I don't expect it, and I just want to give it, because I don't expect it. I don't expect anyone to accept me. I expect myself to accept everyone. There's a difference, okay? I can accept me. I don't need anyone else to accept me. I accept me. But I do need to accept them. That has become my priority. And so because of that, things don't upset me when we're communicating. I'm not as careful with what I'm saying. So I'm sharing things with them that I've never shared before. I'm sharing fears and insecurities that I would have never had a conversation before in 52 years with my sister and tell her what my fears are. And what's amazing is that I am, which I think is great. But in return, because I'm giving, I'm getting. And for the first time in my life, I have actually felt that my sister loves me. I can feel it. I can feel it when she talks to me. I can feel how much I've mattered to her. Our whole lives. I can feel how much I've mattered to her. And I never felt that before. I never felt that before because I never let her show me. And I never let her show me because I didn't feel accepted. And I didn't feel accepted because I wasn't accepting myself. So it's awfully hard to get acceptance from someone else when you won't accept yourself. And what I discovered is I never needed their acceptance because I always had it. There was a situation. So I'm just going to share this a little further. I channel, I trance channel, I communicate with the other side all the time. I'm a clairvoyant. I've been one of the top for many, many years. I've done radio shows, TV shows, like I'm known by hundreds of thousands of people. But I know that when you cross over, it takes time to be able to come through to me. So it never for a second did it dawn on me that my dad would actually come through and talk to me, first of all. And then second of all, I had child guilt. I disappeared from my family for almost a decade. I had childhood guilt, and I didn't believe that I deserved my dad to talk to me. Okay? I didn't believe that I deserved it. So because of that, I pushed him away and I pushed him away, and I believed it was my overactive imagination. I put myself through hell. I did. I put myself through complete hell. And then at one point, my father actually, talk about a strong soul, no wonder his daughter is a clairvoyant, but my father actually pushed himself through me and actually communicated through me. So he pushed me to trance channel, and he actually came through and he wrote out messages to my mom and my sister and to me. And it was nauseating. I was sick to my stomach. I got sick. I was so overwhelmed. I felt like I was paralyzed. It was absolutely awful. Awful. Now I try to just listen. But when it happened, I was so scared to tell them. And I woke up the next morning after I'd finally gotten a few hours sleep. I woke up the next morning and I was so scared to share this with them. And I kept getting message your sister, call your sister, message your sister, call your sister. I'm like, no. And finally I went, fine, I'll message her, but I'm sure she's going to be busy. And if she's not busy, if she's busy, I'm not doing this. So I messaged her with total anxiety. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about when you're so scared that you might get a response. So I messaged her and she messaged her back. She's like, yeah, no, I'm free. Call me, call. I'm like, shit. Right? So I called her and I talked about nothing important for probably 5 or 10 minutes. And she finally stopped me and she's like, okay, what's going on, Kjarlune? Because this isn't how we talk now. This isn't how you've talked to me since we've come back into each other's life. So what's going on? And so I'm like, I started to cry and I'm like, okay, I'm so sorry because I don't deserve this. And I know how close you are to dad and I'm so unbelievably sorry, but I think he came through and I don't know if he came through, but I think he actually took over my body and I'm like a basket case. And she's like, whoa, slow down. She's like, we've just been waiting, honey. And I'm like, you've just been waiting. And she's like, yeah, we knew he was going to come to you because he knew he could. We've just been waiting. Please. What did he say? She's so excited. So I calm down and I share the message with her and I send her a copy of it. And she's like, are you okay with it if I share it with mom? And I'm like, absolutely. And so she gets in her car and she goes out to the lake to meet my mom. And next thing I know, I'm in my tub and my phone rings and it's my sister. I'm like, oh no. So my sister gets on. I'm like, everything okay? And she's like, yeah, I didn't get the full, you sent it to me in 2 pieces, the notes, you sent it to me in 2 pieces and I didn't get it. Would it be okay with you if it's okay with you? Would you read the letter that dad wrote to mom? My mom's in the background. She's like, only if you're okay with that, sweetheart, only if you can handle that. I'm like, I don't have a problem reading it to my mom. It was you I had a problem with. She's like, me? Why would you have a problem reading it to me? I'm like, well, because you're his daughter too. And I wasn't the daughter that deserved this. And she's like, oh, there'll be enough of that. So my mom gets on and I read her the letter and she's bawling with me. And she proceeds to share with me that if I would just share who I am with my family, if I would just let them see all of me, then I would realize that they have always believed in me. They have always had faith in me. They have always known what I'm capable of. And they just want me to let them love me. It was amazing. It was amazing. Those are the kind of things that happen when you learn how to unconditionally accept yourself. And those are those are the things that you get. What you attract in your life is more of what you're struggling with. And I'm going to talk about that a lot on this channel. I'm going to talk about so much on this channel. So I hope that all of that helps. Now, I did mention that at the end of this, I would share with you how you could possibly get access to me to be able to ask me questions. Now, this is important to understand. I'm exceptionally busy in my office, and I will put my webpage and everything underneath so that if you don't remember the email address to send me, or you want to talk to me and you're not willing to wait or whatever, I don't care. That information will be there available for you. But if you want to ask a question that I will answer live on YouTube, or, because I'm also going to give you this option, if you want the opportunity to be chosen to be able to do a live reading with me on video on YouTube, then you can email me at kj@askkj.ca. So kj@askkj.ca. And if it's a question that I'm driven to do, or I literally just pile them and I just pull one out, right? But if it gets picked, then I will absolutely read the question live. So that's how you can access me to be able to ask these questions. I hope that you are all having an absolute phenomenal day. I'm doing this on Wednesday at the end of my day. I hope you're all having a phenomenal day. Mrs. T, I truly hope that I answered what you were asking me. And I wish you all an amazing day and night. And remember, if you want something you never had, you must do something you've never done in order to achieve it. Take care, everybody. Bye.